I think in school, whatever your role, there is a real expectation that you are going to say yes because you're a team player and everyone else is so busy, so no one else could do it if you say no.
Yeah.
That's a real pressure.
Yeah. And there's a story, something like good teachers say yes to everything.
Hmm.
So if I don't say yes, then I'm a bad teacher and a bad team member. And that's not something anybody wants to feel about themselves. So we want to just like slow ourselves down a little bit on it. All you've got to do is find one example where it is sometimes okay. So we can break that pattern by thinking of one example where it would be okay for a teacher to say no. Sometimes the burnout one that we kind of hinted at before is a good one, right? If I say yes to everything forever and I break, is that what a good teacher does, really? And some people, it doesn't feel like it to me, but it'll be harder inside it. So a couple of things to catch, just to say about this, I think that are worth putting in here. One is this idea that it wasn't her idea, but I first heard it from a woman called Sarah Cartwright. And so I'll always think of it as being Sarah's idea, but even though I'm sure it isn't, she learned it from somebody else, which is that when we say yes to something, we're saying no to everything else. So again, this is a corollary of we're doing something all the time and we can't get everything done and we're always making a choice. So every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to everything else you could be doing in that time. But also that when you say no to something, you create the space for yourself to say yes to something else. So one of the ways to deal with these unreasonable expectation that you say yes to everything is to really remind yourself, okay, if I say yes to this thing, what am I saying no to? And somewhere down the list, it might be like, I'm actually saying no to sleep. I'm saying no to time with my children. I'm saying no to time outdoors. I'm saying no to going away this weekend. I'm saying no to having a break. Or it might be, I'm saying no to working on this other stuff that I actually think is really important, but I'm not going to get to it because I'm dealing with this thing here. A good tactic for this, especially if you're being asked to do something by your boss, for example, is to reflect this to them, to say, look, I can do that, but it means I'm not going to be able to work on this other thing. And then we just start to make this a more real situation where we're not treating everyone like a machine with ever increasing capacity. We're remembering that we're humans operating in a human world. And, you know, I think it's a perfectly reasonable expectation to put on most line managers that they would help their staff choose between the relative importance of two tasks that require a similar amount of input and energy.
Yeah, no, really, really lovely that. I do want to just ask, could you summarize in about 2 minutes what are your 6 pillars? Because I think they are fantastic. They've really helped me.
Yeah, so of course, and people can, I'll do this fast. I'll try and do it in 2 minutes. And so people can get them on that download that we mentioned before, the Meaningful Productivity Blueprint, if they want a bit more detail. So basically the idea here is time management is we can't manage time, as we said before. And also it's one of the best bits of feedback I had on this content was somebody said, oh, you're making it all more human. And I think that's right. So time is this like, you know, it's slightly ephemeral thing. It's not human in that way, or it's a mechanical thing and it's not human in that way. So we can't control it. We can't manage it. So the question I started to play with was, when we're talking about time management, if we can't really manage it, what are we talking about managing? What do we have control over? What can we actually change? And then after that person said that, and what is more human? And so through the work I'd done, the learning I'd done about how I'd become more meaningfully productive, work with clients, reading experts in the field, reading research, all that kind of thing, I think there are 6 things that we can focus instead on managing. And if we do that, then we make more of a dent into actual productivity instead of busyness. So we talked about 1, choice management. The second one, depending on how you order them, would be attention management. So we can manage where we put our attention. So that's like, do we have some time free from distractions? Really tough as a teacher on a school site, right? Right. But how do you get some time? Because you know, how much we get done can often depend on, for example, if we're in what they call flow, and flow depends on focus. So if you never have any focus, if you're always checking your phone, for example, then that's tough. You mentioned before energy management. That would be another like high leverage one. We can think about our attitude or mindset and managing that. Sometimes one of the things I like to say about that is, you know, do you want to get more done, or do you just want to not feel like you're failing all the time? And if that's the case, then sometimes we can just shift the way we think, because the way we think affects the way we feel, and the way we feel affects what we do. And so if we change the ways we think, sometimes that's actually enough for people. We can think about habit management, and we could, if we double clicked on that, we'd probably get to the 12-minute method. It's like there are sometimes we can do a little bit of action every week over a long period, and we get amazing results from that. And the last one is relationship management. Some of that's the thing you were talking about with the group that you said no to. We have to kind of work our way into a place in relationships where we can have these difficult conversations. But some of it is also some of those other things that often come into conversations about this. Is there stuff that you can delegate? Is there stuff that can be outsourced? And some of that is about having actual resource. And some of it, going back to your thing about like, if I don't do it, someone else will have to do it, right? Some of it is that we're unwilling to let other people do it, even if they would actually, we're assuming they wouldn't be happy to do it. Actually, there might be other people out there who would be totally happy to do things, and we don't let them for all kinds of interesting reasons. I don't think I did that in 2 minutes, but there's some kind of headline summary.
And everyone, I would really recommend you go and have a look at that on Robbie's website. Okay, Robbie, I've got a question for you on finishing. Oh, I've got two questions, so you're going to have to answer two. We'll just go over a bit, if that's okay. First one is, how do I make a meaningful dent in my work so it isn't the same firefighting day after day?
Yeah. So look, in a really practical sense, I think this is two things, right? This is habit management and choice management. So one of the things is, if you want to make a meaningful dent instead of the same firefighting day after day, is you have to choose to not fight the fires. And I know that sounds scary and crazy, but the truth is many of the fires are not actually life-threatening fires. So we all treat ourselves like they are. We have to be a little careful. Like I had a client once who was a heart surgeon, and it's like, well, actually, that his fires that he has to fight sometimes, which require him to cancel on me, they are justifiable, actual emergencies, right? And yes, there are emergencies in schools, but not everything that we deal with is an emergency. So part of it is courageous decision to do what we might call the important but not urgent things. Now, that can be really tough. So what I'd layer onto that is some habit management. So the 12-minute method came from my writing practice. So I write a blog every week with a 12-minute timer, proofread it once, and post it online. And you can read that blog. There's hundreds of them now. It's been going for 9 years. And what I found after 3 years of that was that the first 3 years of that blog, 12 minutes a week, 3 years, was 80,000 words. And that's how that's how my books were written. 12 minutes a week for 3 years. And so we get this sense then that small action every week can add up to magical things. And so if you were to take, 12 minutes might be enough, right? But certainly if you were to give yourself 30 minutes each week to work on things that are important but not urgent, that are meaningfully productive, that will make a dent in what actually matters, but aren't like burning right now, if you were to do that 30 minutes, maybe, certainly an hour a week, that would really transform how you felt at the end of the year. Right? You can get a lot done in 50 odd hours. And there are so many lessons from that, but one of them is you can get a lot more done in those small amounts of times than you think often. And so I kind of really want to encourage that. If an hour a week, which in some people's timetables in a school will feel impossible, then 20 minutes, right? Rather than just letting, the fires will never stop burning. They'll never stop coming. You'll never be finished with them. So your choice is, do you let them kind of run you, or do you choose to let them burn for just 20 minutes a week and do something that really matters, that might make an actual dent for that 20 minutes?
Yeah, that's so helpful. I remember, I think it's Napoleon Hill says, are you going to let the day run you, or are you going to run your day? And
Right.
so I actually put half an hour every Friday afternoon at the end of the day into my diary, and I make myself do the jobs that I've been putting off all week,
It's
those
a good one.
nasty ones.
It's a really good one. Another one that people do, they call it, it's a really old one, I think, it's called Eat the Frog, right? So start your day, give yourself, 15, 20, 30 minutes to do a hard task that you've been avoiding.
Yes.
But they don't all have to be hard tasks, right? Like sometimes if you give yourself 30 minutes to work on the thing that you're really excited about. So for you, this might have been that, was it Apprentices, the thing you'd arranged, like something you had real energy and passion for. You give yourself 20, 30 minutes before the day, if you're going to do something outside of work, at least outside of working hours, at least do something that really matters and that gives you energy. 30 minutes on that at the start of the day, you've actually done something that matters instead of just getting lost in the firefighting. You might find that your feeling for the whole rest of the day, this would be a kind of energy management move as well, is completely different.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Okay, last question quickly, Robbie. How can we be at peace with ourselves slash when we're done? Because I think as teachers, certainly for me, I would go home, I'd find it very hard to switch off because I hadn't done enough or felt I hadn't done enough. Then I wouldn't sleep very well because I was dreaming about what I was going to do the next day or what I hadn't done the previous day. How do we get to a point where we can have peace with that?
For me, underneath, this is like a crucial question. And some of it is the crucial meaningful productivity question, which we haven't talked about. If the definition of meaningful productivity is getting more of what really matters done, then we have to ask ourselves what really matters.